What's up, gang? This is the X-Teen Featurette channel. I'm Chris, and I'm in front of the old abandoned Kino rack today because I'm going to be reviewing a Kino Lorber feature. We have, for review, Eastern Promises on Blu-ray disc. This was just released on 4K, like days ago, released on 4K, ultra high definition. So if you get that on 4K, let me know how it looks. I will say right now, the Blu-ray looked phenomenal. The picture was amazing. And the cinematography in this is so beautiful. Like, there are so many scenes where I'm just like, I had to pause it at times just to like look at the picture. So I really appreciated that aspect of it. So, you know, it's going to be a real treat to see an ultra high definition. So who knows, maybe I will get that in the future. But this is an amazing release, an amazing movie. I love David Cronenberg, and whenever I saw that they were releasing that on 4K, I was like, I just have to see this. So got the Blu-ray, and this was a 2007 release. I have seen, you know, I love body horror. I love David Cronenberg's, all of his body horror movies. I have not seen all of his like non-horror movies, which he's more accustomed to in recent years. There are some that I've seen. Like, I own Spider on DVD, and I've seen that probably like 100 times. I love it. Some of his other ones I haven't seen though, and this just escaped me for years and years, and I finally watched it, and it is amazing. I think that everybody should watch this. If you look up reviews on it, it's got amazing ratings, and there's a reason. This is a phenomenal film. So I guess just a brief plot summary, and I'm not going to spoil anything. Although I will say, am I the only one that my first time watching this, I was able to figure out the big picture, like the ending, within the first act. That's a toxic trait of mine, figuring out, like, I always have to try to figure out what the whole point of the movie or the ending is. It annoys me that I do that, but I do. I wouldn't necessarily say that this is predictable by any means, but I don't know. I guess that the storyline was something that I was like, okay, I see what's going to go on here. So we have Viggo Mortensen, Naomi Watts, and Vincent Cassel. The movie starts in a pharmacy. There's a woman talking to the pharmacist at the counter, and then this young girl rushes up and is pleading for help, and then she just starts, you know, like, all this blood just like drops on the floor. I thought that she was having like a miscarriage, but apparently she was going into labor, and that's not a really good sign if you're dripping blood everywhere. So I guess the story is that she dies in childbirth, and then her baby is at the hospital, but she was kind of like a Jane Doe, and she didn't really speak English. There was no, before she died, there was no figuring out who she was. And now they have this baby at the hospital, and they don't know if there's any family to give it to. So Naomi Watts' character is a midwife named Anna, and she is at a hospital in New York, and she had experienced a miscarriage. We learn later on in the story she experienced a miscarriage with her ex-fiance. And so she's a little sensitive to the topic of babies, which probably sucks as a midwife. So she really wants this baby to go with any family if possible, instead of going into the state system and being in foster care and whatever. So on the dead mother's personal effects is a small diary, and she brings it home to her uncle, her mom and her uncle, because I guess her uncle is Russian. Her father was Russian, so her uncle speaks Russian. She asks him to translate the diary, which he absolutely refuses and said that it's wrong, that he robbed a dead person. Fair enough. So Anna finds a business card in the diary, goes there because she figures the girl might have worked there, and that's where our story really starts to spiral out of control. It turns out that the address was some sort of like a restaurant, like a Russian restaurant. The guy's like, oh, she never worked here. Maybe she ate here once or twice. I don't know. So it seemed hopeless, but then the guy's like, where is the diary? You know, it's this like really kind old man. You know, she says that her father's Russian, and he has like, I think that she kind of feels safe with him because it reminds her of her father in that sense. And he's like, oh, you have to try my borscht and blah, blah, blah. So there was that kind of bond that she thought that they had. And then he offers, you know, oh, I can't do it now, but bring it back, bring the diary here, and I will translate it for you. The next day, she brings photocopies of the diary, and you could tell that he gets kind of perturbed by that. So it throws up red flags to the viewer. At that point, we learn more about the Russian family. Vincent Cassel plays the son of the old, cute Russian guy, and Viggo Mortensen plays the son's driver, basically like his gopher. So that is their kind of relationship. Early on in the movie, we see this guy at a barber shop getting a haircut, and then the barber instructs some kid, I think his son, to slit the guy's throat, which he does. And we learn then that there's just like really not good stuff going on in this universe here. Later on, we see that person interacting with the sweet old Russian dude. His character's name is Semyon. Semyon has a ne'er-do-well son named Kirill, and he is the one played by Vincent Cassel. And Kirill's driver and basically like gopher is the one that's played by Viggo Mortensen. That's how they're related. One of the first scenes we see with Viggo Mortensen, he calls himself the mortician, and he is processing the dead body, the guy that was at the barber shop, cutting off his fingers and taking his teeth out so they can dump him in the river, and he will never be identified. So between those two scenes alone, this movie was just ridiculous. There were so many instances watching this that I was like, what is happening? It was interesting because we have Anna, and she's just like so innocent. She's trying to do the right thing for this totally helpless little infant. And in doing so, she gets mixed up with the Russian mob. We learned that there was some incriminating stuff in the diary about Semyon. So she went to him saying, hey, I have this diary. So now Anna and her family are targets. So we have Anna in her complete innocent outlook, trying to do the right thing, mixing herself up with this like underground, and it's a story of those two worlds coming together. The characters in this were amazing. Like when Semyon is trying to interact with Anna and convince her to do what he wants, he's just being sweet and, trying to be persuasive. Once he realizes that she is kind of hesitant and wary of him, he starts to turn up the heat. He turns Nikolai, Viggo Mortensen's character, onto her and tries to get him to do what he needs to get this diary back. In Nikolai's dealings with Anna, I got the feeling that she definitely took a liking to him. She was not as cautious with him. She let him drive her home, so now he knows where she lives. She did not let Semyon drive her home. So she is being very cautious with him, and she just feels like a little bit safer with Nikolai. Who wouldn't? Look at him. And then there's Kirill, who is just a total loose cannon. He feels dangerous, he feels reckless, and he is the son of Semyon, so he's supposed to be the one that's like taking over this like family business whenever Semyon dies, and it's just like he's a clown. As far as mob movies go, that's not that uncommon. Like, that plot's been done before. But this movie just focuses, there's a good focus on Anna and her family, and then there's a good focus on the mob element and their whole life. I feel like they each get pretty equal time. Like, we're not given preference towards one or the other. And I did care about the characters. I got pretty invested. There's a scene that takes place in like a bathhouse, and Viggo Mortensen's character Nikolai's in there, and he gets basically attacked. It was just a very scary scene. It was very memorable. He was in the bathhouse, he got attacked. He was totally naked, so it gave you this feeling of vulnerability. There was so much blood. It was horrific. Saw his package. It was interesting. And the crazy thing is, there are just so many scenes like that are just, they leave you horrified. Even though this is not a horror movie, they leave you horrified. I think the biggest theme in this movie is sex and violence. We have that duality, like there's this extreme violence so often, and then there's this other side of the movie where it's focused on birth and miscarriages and, prostitutes and, sex scandals. And I would say that in many ways, those two ideas of sex and violence are very interconnected in this movie, and that just gives it this really gritty, brutal feeling, I think. So aside from how brutal and horrific the movie is, the cinematography, like I said, is amazing. There are so many scenes where it's just like the framing, the way that it's framed, and like the way that the lighting is working, and the way that the characters are moving through the frame is just like, it was just like mind-blowing to me. Eastern Promises is just a piece of art. I cannot explain. There were so many frames where I literally had to sit and pause it and watch it over and over. It was profound. Another thing I wanted to note was that there was a lot of violin music in it. The music was beautiful. In one scene, actually, in the restaurant, there was like a live violin player going through. It had a very cool feel. It felt authentic. I don't know if it was authentic because, you know, on the record, I'm not a part of the Russian mob, but I would imagine that if I were, that's what I would want to listen to. So that is going to be my review. Like I said, I kind of had the ending figured out. I thought that it was a phenomenal ending. I was worried that the movie was so good and so intense that the ending was going to leave me feeling like wanting more. But I didn't feel that way at all. I thought that it was very well-rounded, very good pace. It kept me so engaged the whole time, and then the ending kind of wrapped it all up, and I was like, wow, that was really, really good. I don't normally actually review very good movies. Like, I enjoy the movies I review, don't get me wrong, but they're not necessarily good. So this, I would say, is a piece of art. I loved it, and I think that everyone should watch it. So there are some special features on the Blu-ray. I'll let you take a look at those. We have Birthmarks, featurette with screenwriter Kevin Knight. Secrets and Stories, featurette with director David Cronenberg. Marked for Life, featurette with David Cronenberg. Two Guys Walk Into a Bathhouse, featurette with David Cronenberg. Watts on Wheels, featurette with actress Naomi Watts, and 2 theatrical trailers. This clocks in at a cool 101 minutes. It has English subtitles, which I did employ, and it is only Region A. So there you have it. That is my review of the Blu-ray release from Kino Lorber. Like I said, the 4K is now available. Check it out. Maybe I'll check it out. Many thanks to Kino Lorber for sending Eastern Promises my way for review. Thank you for watching this video. Come back next week and see what we talk about, and I will see you then.